Has anybody had any trouble with the home assignments or any problems that are common? Okay, everybody okay? All right, I should have given you a home assignment today, but I'm going to hold it off until next time. It turned out, sometimes I use the ones from last semester or the semester before, and it turned out that it didn't quite fit. So instead of just putting it up and having it not quite fit, I decided to not do it and just build one that's right, and then it'll be the correct one. Because you cover different things. Today I want to cover sound. Okay, there's two parts of today's class. One is if you want to have background sounds or any kind of sounds in your programs, you've got to have some way to create a sound. You've got to have a way to make the sound work. Okay, that'll be the first thing we'll do. And the second thing is I want to create a program that will talk to you, so that if you type in a bunch of words, it'll say those words back to you orally, the sound. Or you could have words built into your program that it will say to you. You can do it either way. You can also have those words spoken in different languages. It turns out Google's got, it looks to me like it's got about 50 languages there. And I have programs that use about 6 of them, I think. But there are codes for all the different languages that they have. I only use the basic standard ones. But I can give you the codes if you want. Actually, I should upload them. I'll upload the codes, and then you guys can use them. But tonight, as of this point, there's only going to be 6 languages you can work with. And one of them happens to be British, which is sort of like ours, but it's there. Google's done a good job with that. They've created accents. So, for example, if I wrote bonjour, monsieur, I can have it say bonjour, monsieur in a very froggy-like way, so that it would be quite French. If, or if you have German, it will say it with a German accent. And so that's what's cool. The funny thing is, when you get English expressions, and you turn on the French accent and the German accent, you can actually, it's almost like if you want to train an actor to have a fake voice, you can just have them say something, and this thing would say it back with some kind of a weird accent, or whatever, well, weird, but a different accent. So it's kind of handy, really. I think the idea is kind of handy. I don't know what you'd ever use it for. Anybody here in linguistics or language? Any language people here? There are. I know there are in the class, but you are. Some in the class. There's several people that are in it. They could probably. You could have a good time with it. But anyway, let me start off with just sounds. Basically, I'll start with sounds. Okay, to start with, if you're going to make a sound, there's different ways you can do it. You could, for example, you could get a recording program. They're all free, they're all online, they're all over the place. Your computer may already have one in there. And basically, it says record, and you turn on record, and you say blah, 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 and shut it off. And now you have a little recording, okay? The recordings we want are in the format called MP3. It looks like this. MP3. That's the kind of, so in other words, your sound would have, whatever it is, noise, whatever you called your thing, that's the name of it, it would be .mp3. That's a sound file, okay? They have another one that's called WAV. It looks like this. It's WAV. That's also a sound file. Even though the internet can use WAV files, or can use them, I really prefer to use MP3s because, first of all, the quality is very, very good. And it's the most standard of the two. It's the one that really everybody uses, okay? This one here is, I don't know if it's going out or not. I don't know whether it's locked in and we're going to be using it forever or not, but MP3 is sort of the one that is standard for high quality, good sound. So basically, you want your files to be in MP3. So if it says to you record something, it says how do you want to save it, be sure you pull down the MP3 thing so it saves it in that format. That's the one we want. So MP3 files, you assume that if you're going to have sound in your program, it's going to be an MP3 file of some kind. Either you made it, or you went to a site. And I have a site listed on our site that tells you where you can go to get safely get sounds, and they're free. They don't cost anything. But when you download the sound, be sure to download the MP3 sound. I'll give you a little program that shows you how to do it. Just a demonstration how to do it. The reason why I put that site there, normally I don't put sites up for where you find stuff, but there's only 2 places I really trust for getting information. at this point. One is this thing's called Sound Bible. They're very reliable. They're not going to do anything to your machine, and they're not dumping anything on you. And the other one, of course, is YouTube for videos. So those two places are fairly safe to get stuff from. Any other place you get stuff from, you don't know what you're getting. You download, as soon as you start downloading to your machine, you don't know what you have. You could have a program that, malware, who knows what it is. In fact, does anybody here use CCleaner on your machines? You heard of CCleaner before? CCleaner is a program that's free. I think it's called, I think it's by a company named, I think it's Pyramid or something like that. And what happens is, it's been used for years, we've had it for a long time, and essentially it's a free program. You bring it down, and what you do is, when you want to clean your machine out, there's all these different places that stuff is stored all over the place. They store cookies in your machine, and when you're running online, they store cookies. They store files in different places. They store images. They store, the website that you've been to, its URL is stored someplace, and the pages themselves are stored someplace. You got megabytes of stored things that you never asked for that are just put in your machine. And then you have the trash which you may never have emptied. Well, what CCleaner does is you run CCleaner, and it goes to all these spots and erases all that stuff, everything all over your machine, cleans it up. Basically, then what happens is something kind of nice. Once it cleans it up, when you run your browser, everything runs a lot faster. So it doesn't have to keep looking around to see what's there. It just goes, does the job. So CCleaner is handy, but there's a problem that's come up. If you don't get it from the original company that made it, it's free. And if you get it from someone else, and that can happen. If you say CCleaner, I'll look on the 3 or 4 sites to get it from. Somebody's been dumping virus and worms and all kinds of other stuff into the program. So in other words, if you get it from someone else, you don't know what's in it. Don't get it from anyone except who made it. And I should list the site for you. I think it's called Pyramid. While we're here today, I'll just find it and tell you what it is. But they're the reliable ones because they're the actual manufacturers. But that's the trouble. When you go to get a program sometimes, some standard program, you find out that half a dozen people are going to offer it to you. You don't know anything about them, so don't take any chances. Always go to the people who made the program. Like if you read in a magazine or online or someplace, and you see this company has created this thing, go right to them and get it, because otherwise you're in trouble. I mean, you don't know what you're getting. So anyway, you can go to this Sound Bible. They're pretty good, soundbible.com. And you can get all kinds of sounds. You can get explosions and water running and wind blowing and horns blowing and blah blah blah. They get hundreds and hundreds of sounds, different sounds that are put there by people. They're just given to them, and they're public domain. You can use them. Okay, there's no problem. So that's where you get a noise if you want a noise. There are also sites where you can get music. I don't happen to know one right off the bat, but I know this. I'm a classic music fan myself, but I get classical music, and there's lots of classical music that's free because so many people have performed every possible classical performance that a lot of them are just up there. You can just get them. The problem with popular music is that they don't like you to, because there's people still buying it. They don't like you to get it online, so you might have some little trouble with more popular music. And I don't want to recommend anything because I don't really know what the rules are for popular music. I'm not sure if they, one of the musicians might call you up and threaten to kill you or something because you took his song. I mean, I don't know what their situation is. But classical music's easy to get. If you want, I can get you a site for that, but I think they're all pretty good. People don't put viruses in classical sites because you've got to be, you've got to be somebody. There's something in your machine they want, and I don't think they want something out of geezers. Okay, so question is, you have to get an MP3 file, and an MP3 file is going to be the sound. Assume that to start with. Okay, you download it into your CS101 folder, and you have an MP3 that's a sound. We'll call it noise, just to give it a name. Okay, so what I want to do is, there's two kinds of sounds. One kind of sound is like background music. It plays all the time. It just plays for you. You turn on the website, up it comes, and in the background you hear this music or this drumming noise or something. There's some background noise. That's one way of having sound. The other way of having sound is when you have an incident. You press a button, boom, it does something. So in other words, you have sounds that are just, they call it constitutive. They're there all the time. They just come with the territory. Once you put the program, once you run your program, it's built in, it just runs. And the other kind, you can actually tell it's going to run by hitting buttons or doing whatever you do. Anything that goes into a function can say make a sound. You can do it, any function can be made to make a sound if you wanted to. For example, if you wrote a program and you had a torpedo coming and it bumped into something, and then you said, go to a function and say, now make the boom sound, it could make the boom sound for you. So you actually have total control over that. So there's two kinds of sounds, the kind that's there all the time and the kind that you make something happen. Okay, I'm going to start off with the kind that's there all the time because it's the easiest one. Supposing, for example, you have a song. Let's say it's, you download this song from someplace. And what you want to do is, when this program starts, you want that music to play in the background. You'd like to have it just stop playing, okay? So let me write the program that will actually put that sound in. And I'll show you what all the code does. First like that thing. So, and your head. Like so. Then you get this line here. This is the new one right here. I just made that name up. You can give any name you want to it. I'm giving it a name. I'm calling it ID, just giving it a name, that's all. The source of that sound is this right here, this file that's stored away. That has the sound in it. So the source is, give it that name, sonata.mp3. Don't forget, it's right in your CS101 folder, right where everything else is right. Then you, I'm going to leave a little space here for a second. Then you close this thing. And then you say /audio right here. Remember to do that. If you don't say /audio, what you've done is you've opened up the audio, you've done whatever you want to do, but you haven't closed it again. So it's going to think everything down here is part of the audio, it's going to screw it up. So basically, what you want to do is you want to say, I'm going to bring this thing into my program, but after it comes in, I want to say, turn this command off. I don't want it to do any more. That's it. End of story. It's just like with script. You start with script, JavaScript, you do stuff, and you say /script to shut it off. So it's the same thing. Only this one happens to be all in the same line, that's all. So this thing from here over is turn on the audio, and this one from here over is shut off the audio. Okay, it's a special audio command. Now, what I want to tell you about is right here, in this spot right here, you can type any of three words. Any of these three words, okay? The first word is, let me see them all here, is autoplay. Autoplay, exactly like that. Also, all lowercase, autoplay, just put it in there. Leave a space right here, and then put autoplay there, okay? And no quotes around or anything. What autoplay says is, when this program opens up, start playing this, whatever it is. Just play it immediately, don't even ask any questions. Like it was the Moonlight Sonata, you're going to get the Moonlight Sonata right off the bat. It's there. Okay? Another word that you might put there is loop. And you can put them both there, by the way. I can put loop right over here. I can put them both in here. Loop. So what loop says is, when the thing gets to the end, go back and play it again. So what loop does is it makes the thing play over and over and over again. If you don't have the word loop in there, it'll play it once and then it will stop. Okay? And it depends on what you want to accomplish. Some people want to do it one way, some people want to do it the other way. It depends on what your situation is. So that loop gives you that possibility. Another possibility, another word you can put in is controls. Now controls, these are the three words, autoplay, loop, and controls. You can put any combination of those in there. One of them, or all of them, whatever you want to do. What controls does is it puts this little thing on the screen that looks like this for the people who are using it. It's a little thing like that, like this, like that, like this. You can control the volume. You can move it forward, fast forward it, move it backwards. It's got these little buttons, you just drag them back and forth, that's all. And it changes the volume and it changes the location on the song that you're working on, or whatever noise that you've got. Okay? Now, this little thing comes up on the screen for whoever's using it. It's going to be right up on the screen. They're going to see it if you use the word controls. If you don't use the word controls, that will not appear on the screen. That brings it in. So in other words, if you don't bring it in, they have no control over anything. They're just sitting ducks. They just listen to whatever you're offering. If they want to shut it off, if you put the controls in, they can shut it off by just clicking it. They're going to shut it off. Okay? So it gives them some control over it. Does that all make sense so far? And any of those three things go in here. Any one of them, or all three of them, or two of them, or whatever, goes in that spot right there. And there's space between them. Like that. And they don't have to be in that order. They can be in any order, whatever. Okay? And just be sure you spell it right. The autoplay, loop, and controls with an S. They've got to be spelled just like that, all lowercase. Okay? And then what that'll do, at that point, what we've done is, let's assume that I put autoplay in here. Okay, that's it. No quotes around or anything. There's a space right here. Don't forget, space right there. And then what I can do is I can simply say slash head, body, oops. Write anything you want. Write anything you want. It doesn't make any difference. Slash body, slash HTML. And there it is. What that will do for you is that little program right there will simply play the sound for you. That's all you need. Nothing else. Okay? So that's actually the easier of the two. The harder of the two is to be able to control the thing. Actually what you want to do is turn it on, turn it off. Make an explosion go boom. Make a bell go bong, or whatever. You want to make something happen, okay? The easiest way for us to demonstrate it, the easiest way for me to demonstrate it, is to have a button. We have a button down here someplace. You press the button, it goes up to a function, it says bong, and it stops, that's all. Sometimes we're going to make a little function to do it. But I have to do a little bit of work with this thing in order to do it. So, okay, so this one's over, this program's over. I'm going to show you, I'll demonstrate these in a few minutes here. But this is all there is to it. That program will do the job. It'll write this on the screen, and it will stop playing whatever that sonata is.
The controls, is that just like a generic thing that our computer already knows?
Yes. Okay. You don't have to draw it or anything.
Will each computer be different?
That's a good question.
Like
Microsoft may have. That's a good question. Now, Apple might have it. I don't know how they do it. Now, who's got an Apple here? Have we got an Apple? Right now? You got an Apple? Is it running?
Yeah.
Okay. You got a PC? Run this program. Can you write this program? You just write it in Notepad and make it run. See what happens. And
there's still other different words that you have to use.
I'm sorry?
For
I'm sorry?
Apples.
What?
There's a specific words that you need to use in order to write a program.
No, you just, this is the program.
Yeah, I know, but that's for PC. But like when I write in JavaScript, I might have to use other different, words. Yeah. Like instead of putting, what is it called? Instead of putting script language equal JavaScript, I have to put Java something.java. Yeah, it's different. But like most of the content is kind of the same.
In JavaScript, you have to put a dollar sign?
Yeah, in order for me to write that program, I have to put it in a different way. But it works the same way.
I think you're doing something weird.
Yeah, but just use different language because Apple is different.
I know it's different, but I write in Apple. I write Apple script. I write these things in Apple also. I want to see that afterwards, okay? You're using you may be using some technique they have that I haven't seen or haven't used, but you should be able to write it exactly like this. Exactly the same way. And when you save it, it should save. You have to save it. The trick is how to save it. That's the trick. Is how do you save it so that it actually works. Now, if you're using a dollar sign, it sounds to me like you're using. Are you including something up there, another file of some kind?
You have to type it before the HTML, the top one. You have to type exclamation mark, dot type, and then HTML, and then close, and then start from HTML and then head. And all the code, yeah.
Yeah, you're calling something in there. I'm not sure what it is. I mean, there's so many possibilities, but I'd like to see that after. Give me a second afterwards to take a look at it, do you mind?
Okay, so
You can
this-
write it exactly like that though. It will work if you write it exactly like that. You save it in Notepad, and you save it as an HTML. You've got to save it in HTML. And you've got to be sure that your text is not standard text. It is just text that's not fancy text, which Apple automatically drops on you. You got to get rid of. You got to make an adjustment so when you save it, you don't save it as. The quote marks can't be two different quote marks and all that stuff.
Yeah, the thing is that I don't use Notepad, I use text editing.
Oh, you're doing an edit. Oh,
Yeah,
you're
text edit.
text edit. Well, it works in text edit. It should be the same. It's when you go to save is when the trouble comes in. Because if you go to save and this thing has, like, for example, these quote marks right here. If you use the normal quote marks that Apple gives you, they're going to look like that. They aren't the same. That's not standard for the internet. The standard for the internet is you have one character that's the quote mark, and it's the same one on both sides, exactly the same. See, that's where they want it to look pretty on a piece of paper, but they never thought about what happens when you try to run it as a program on the internet because it won't run. So what they do is they have this thing you have to pull down that says, okay, I want to save this in HTML, and I want to shut off fancy text, I just want it to have regular text. That's probably what you're avoiding by doing it the way you're doing it, but no crisis, we can figure it out. Anybody run that? Did it run?
Still working on it.
Well, you don't have a sound, do you?
No.
You don't have a sound. Yeah, that's what the sounds. You gotta
You
get
have to
a
download it, right?
what?
You have to download the song.
Yeah, you gotta download a sound.
That's fine, I just wanted to know if the controls would pop up different in a different
Yeah. Okay.
computer, but that's fine, I understand it.
Okay. You can figure it out.
Yeah.
Sorry. Operator without an eraser. What's a teacher without an eraser? Okay, I'm getting rid of this. Going on to the next topic. Sometimes you want the sound to come up and do a sound when you hit something. Supposing on the screen, supposing you had a bell on the screen, and when you press the button, you want the bell to go bing, bong, or whatever, okay? So what you do is you go to the site and you bring down a bell sound. Let's call it bell. And it just makes a little chime, that's all. .mp3. So now you have a sound of a bell going bing, that's all it does, it doesn't do anything else. The question is, how do you get it to work so that you can have a button on your screen, you press the button and the bell will ring? Now we're using a button, but there's many ways of getting it to do it, but we're going to use the button first because it's the easiest way to do it. Well, it starts off, it looks pretty much the same in the beginning, except for one little difference. HTML. You have to do the same thing with the audio. You have to do the audio. And you have to give it an ID. I'm going to call it ring. Ring a bell. I'm giving it that name, ring, right there. And the source of this thing is equal to that right there. Bell. .mp3. Now, the reason why I don't do any controls or loops or anything like that is because we don't want it to do anything until we just press the button. I just want it to go bing one time, I don't want it to do anything. So I'm not going to put controls in it, I'm not going to put loop in it, and I'm not going to put anything else. I just basically don't want it to repeat or anything, I just want it to do what it's doing. So, I put it in there, but I haven't made it do anything. At this point, I don't have it auto start or anything like that, auto play, so therefore it's not going to stop playing right away. Nothing's going to happen. It's going to be in there, but nothing's going to happen. Next question. Now let's write the program. You say script. Language. It was JavaScript. All they do is say, okay, I got a JavaScript language program, and this is where it gets funny here now. I got to do this right. I got to make sure if I make one typo here, it's going to be a mess for you, so I'll try to get it right. Create a variable. This is going to be a global variable. We're creating a variable. We're going to give it some name, okay? So I'll say, I'll call it ding dong. Ding dong, how about that? Ding dong. I just gave it a name, no matter what it is, you just give it that name. Equals. Now you've got to write these words exactly in lowercase, except where I tell you they're going to be uppercase. You've got to be lowercase where I tell you, and uppercase where I tell you. All the first part is all lowercase. It looks like this. It says document, dot, period right there, get, then it says element, no spaces in any of this stuff. Element, that's a capital letter right there. By, that's a capital B. ID, that's a capital I. Okay, it's kind of a weird line. But let me explain what's going on here. This thing right here, what I'm saying is a simple thing. Everything in HTML has a name. Now we have been doing things like, for example, if we have something in HTML like in1, we can send in1.value up to this thing, and it will say in1.value. Okay, I receive it as, and I call it A or something. So we've been exchanging data between HTML and JavaScript by simply using that technique. It turns out with the sound you can't do it that way. The sound doesn't travel that easily. So what you have to do is, this part up here, this audio part, is an HTML. It's an HTML instruction, which holds, that's why I gave it the name ring. It's an HTML instruction, it holds the name ring. So therefore, what happens is, the bell button in MP3 comes into your program, and in HTML it's known as ring. It's just like if you had in1 or out1 or whatever it is. It's the same thing. It's just that. Then what I have to do is I have to get it into my JavaScript program, so the JavaScript knows what its name is in JavaScript. So what happens is by putting this line right here, it takes ring, which is that name in HTML, and it puts this in front of it, and it translates it into this, which is the JavaScript variable, which means exactly the same thing. It's like when you say in1, and it goes up to A. The A is like this part. The in1 is like that part. See, it's sending it from HTML to JavaScript. So now what you have is, ding dong is now known in JavaScript, and it understands what it is. It says, okay, I know what that is now. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to skip this little bit here, /script. I want to do now is go right straight to the body, I'll put that right here, /head, just to save some space here. Don't forget, this could be underneath. I'm doing body here. And now what I want to do is, I just want to create a simple button. When I press that button, it's going to jump up to a function, which I haven't built yet. It's going to jump up to a function and play the sound. And the sound is known as ding dong. That's what JavaScript knows it as. So, what I do is I say, okay, I want an input. And I want the type to be button. Just like you'd have a button on the screen, button. And on the button I'm going to say, I'll call it play. Let's say it's title. No, value, sorry. Value equals play, it's all play. And then on click, I want to go to this function, which I'm going to create right now. Function. Play it. I'll call it play it. It doesn't take any variable. You don't have to say. You don't have to put anything in here because it knows what it's going to do. Play it.
Play it a universal term or?
No, I just invented it.
Okay.
There it is. So I did is I said, you got a variable, I got a function called play it. When you go to the function, you don't have to carry anything with it because it knows what you want to do. You want to play that noise. So here you come up to play it, it opens up, and then it does the instruction. The instruction looks like this. In this particular case, it would look like ding dong. Dot play. There it is. That's simple. And close the function. That's all there is to it. You know dot play. In other words, whatever the name of the sound is, dot play will play the sound. It's that simple. So here's what happens. You made this button down here. Let me show you what the screen looks like. You just created this thing. Here's the screen. There's going to be a button up in the upper left-hand side because there's no place else for it to be. And the button says play on it. It says play right here. And when you click that button, it goes through this function and it says, oh, go up to play it. It goes up to play it. Comes down in here, it says the sound ding dong dot play. That's what that dot play says, play the sound. That doesn't. So, and then the sound will go bing, or whatever sound it happens to be. Question?
So is the .play like the universal thing that tells it to emanate the sound?
Okay, let's.
Is that the trigger word?
Okay, here's the question. He asked a question. Let me get. That's a good question, really. What happens is when you create a variable in sound, it has qualities. You can play it. You might be able to make it softer, make it louder, change the volume. You can do different things to it. So what happens is the sound dot, whatever you tell it to do, is a legal instruction in these languages. What they do is they say, well, this is the thing you invented, dot, and it has some qualities. Here are the qualities that it has. It usually gives you a list of qualities. It has volume, play, this, that, and the other thing. In this case, what we're doing is we're saying we want the quality played. This is not just ding dong. Ding dong is a sound, but we want its play quality to activate it. So in other words, it's like a subscript or something. It's just a special part of the sound, the playing part of it. We'll get a lot of other things with those dots on it, by the way. In fact, this right here is exactly the same thing. This document is actually the entire program that you wrote. It's everything. And we're saying within that everything, get any HTML ID that has ring, the name ring, and there it is right there. Get that element, which is an HTML, and bring the name over and put it in ding dong. We're doing the same thing, really, because that instruction, document is the instruction. That document is the document we're interested in, but get element by ID is looking within the document, within this thing, which is up here. It's looking within the document to see if it can find the word ring, and when it finds it, it knows that it's taking bell and it's putting the sound into the ding dong. It knows that. Okay. So what the dot does, it actually, it's like a function.
A command, kind of, or?
It isn't always a function. Sometimes it's just a piece of it. I mean, you can, for example, we use it for length. The length of something. You say, have a word, banana, and supposing you put something in there, number 55, and you say, how long is 55? You say banana dot length. And I'll tell you it's 2 characters long. So in other words, there's a lot of subscript things you can do. But for our purposes, just for the simple sound thing, just remember that if that's the sound, dot play, it makes the sound activate. That's all it does. For our purposes right now. Okay.
Are those parentheses on the bottom line after play it, are those just 2 open close parentheses?
Quote right
No,
here.
no, down on the bottom, on just
There's like
after
a
play it.
placeholder there.
What about them?
Where it says on click equals.
Oh yeah, these are parentheses, yeah. That's parentheses.
Okay,
Before,
and then.
before play it and after the double parentheses. The quotes are after parentheses, yeah.
But the 2 parentheses have to be in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, the quote
Just
is-
like that.
It's a function. Yeah, because up here it's the same thing.
Oh, I see. I get it.
Yeah, I'm getting a little nervous here. I'm gonna look at this line. Remind me to look at this line on line. It might do that, and it might require something else.
Where it says like
I
ding
don't
dong
think
dot
it does this,
play,
but it should officially require that. But I'm not sure if it does or not.
where it says dot
This right here is a
play,
question. I have to think about that. What?
and where it says dot play, like you were saying, is like the quality of like adjust the volume or whatever.
Wait a minute. What? Ask the question again.
So you know how you said that like the dot play in this case is it's like a quality or a command and that it tells it what to do with it?
This document, it says get the element
Yeah.
from the document. It says go to this document.
But you were saying how you can do different things with it. If you had like just ding dong, could you leave the dot play out? Would it default to just playing the sound or anything?
No. Here's what happens. When only HTML can bring sound into your program. JavaScript can only do that through HTML. It can't do it on its own. So the HTML has to get the sound in. So that line right there is an HTML line. It's a special HTML line. It says, give me that sound and put it in this ID right here. So now HTML knows it by that name ring. So now what you have to do in your program, you have to say, well, I can't call it ring because it's not just a word, it's actually a sound. So what it says is, bring this ring to me from that document, bring this ring, that thing there, and give it this name. So in other words, what happens now is it now has a JavaScript name that will work. It'll do something. It wouldn't do something before. It's like sending an argument to a function. This is receiving it. That is a function, by the way. That is a function. I'm having a little trouble here whether this should be open or not. I'm not sure if it is. It could very well have a... Sometimes this is the real problem. JavaScript, again, being forgiving, lets you do stuff you shouldn't be able to do. So sometimes they get you in trouble. But I'm going to tell you that before you leave here today. It's either has a quote there, parentheses there, or it doesn't. I'm not sure which. It should because it's a function, but it's a call, but it might not. Okay, so far, finish this off, /body, /HTML, and that's it. So that function will press that button, goes up to play it, comes down to here and says, play ding dong, goes bing, makes the sound, whatever the bell sound is, and it stops. That's all it does. So when we press the button, it makes a sound. Press the button, it makes a sound. That's it. So that makes it something that will actually activate when you activate it. Otherwise, it won't play in the background or anything like that. Which makes it different than the other one we did. See, we get the same line up here, both HTML, but in the HTML before would just play it for us. Now the HTML loses control of it to the JavaScript because JavaScript tells you when to make it go or when not to make it go. Because I didn't say auto-play here. It won't auto-play. It won't do anything until we do something down in here. Now I'm going to tell you something else that we can't use in this program, but we could possibly use. Supposing, for example, you press the button, and instead of just making a bing sound, it made some kind of a ongoing sound, like a thunder sound. It kept going, and it kept going and going and going, and you wanted to be able to stop it, okay? What you would do is you'd have a different button. It would say stop it. You'd have a stop button, and you have a different function. The other function, it would be called like stop it or something like that. You'd have ding dong dot pause, P-A-U-S-E, that's the magic word. That stops a noise. It'll stop it from playing. So if this thing wasn't just an explosion which goes boom and it's finished, if it was an ongoing noise and you want to have the person have the ability to stop it, you just simply put another button right here that says stop, right there, and put that line down here, input type button, value equals stop, on-click, go to another function that's called stop it. And when you get to stop it, you say ding dong dot pause, and that'll do it, that'll stop the sound. Okay? There's programs on here that demonstrate that clearly. You'll see that there's different things we can do. And so that actually tells you pretty much how to do the two different things. Any questions about any of this right away? Question?
One, I don't get why you have the parentheses, why they're just open or nothing inside. They're just
This one here?
Yeah, on all of them. Is it even needed then?
Okay, here's why. Because normally what you would do is you'd have some kind of function, whatever it was. You'd have a function, and you'd send up something like a banana, banana dot value. You'd send something up there. And so you'd have, it would come up into here, you'd have to have a place like A, oh sorry, yeah, you have to have an A or something to receive that, whatever that variable is. But in this case, we don't have any variable. But the program still has to know this is a function.
Okay.
So in other words, if you give it a function name, you put that thing after it. And even though there's nothing in there, just take that out. You still have the XYZ. This may not be there anymore, but this is still a function. And that's why. It's usually because you send arguments, but we're not sending any arguments in this case. Okay. Is that okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And do we need any quotation marks after the equal sign on the variable?
On variable. No.
No.
That right there is actually a variable.
Okay.
No quote marks, right? It is a variable. It's a name of something. And within that name is stuff. The sound is inside that name.
Yeah.
And you said under the function, if you want to stop it, you just put function pause?
Yeah, I actually write, do you want me to write that? I can write that if you want to say it.
Maybe if
How
you
would
just
you
write
choose to see?
the line instead of doing the whole thing,
Yeah.
just write the different
Well, do you
lines
understand
that
what would go here?
different.
You have to have another line like this, right?
Right,
It would have to go to stop it.
after play it though? And
Yeah, let me put it there. I'll just write it there. It's not that hard to do. So you have the same thing here. This is the same. This one's value would be stop. And then on click, you would have stop it. We'll call it stop. Just give me that name. Stop it. Please quote there. Stop it. So then what you'd have is another function. It'd be like this one. It would say function. Only be down here someplace. Function. Stop it. No argument. Open. Ding dong. Dot pause. I'm going to do this because I think it's more and more thinking that it's got to have that there, but positive it is. Okay? That's it. Just a little function, that's all. You can have as many functions as you need to do anything. You have as many functions as you need to do stuff. Okay. Next question is this right here, this audio thing right here, has introduced a new idea. Because what happened, you could put this, by the way, down in the body if you wanted to. A lot of people put it in the body. The reason why I don't put it in the body is because when you're writing code, you're writing this stuff, okay? If you put it up here, and you go to write, I gotta say, get a little idea of the what. Well, it's right above you. You can see it right there, ring. You just put it in. In other words, it makes it so easy for you to code that way. If the thing's way down the bottom here, you say, get on your ID, what's the name of it again? You have to scroll up and look down and all that stuff. So I like to keep everything kind of in a position where you can actually access everything. So this thing, putting this in the head is kind of handy. It puts it up there. It plays just as if it was in the body, but it's right in front of you so you can actually look at it and do stuff if you have to do anything to it, or use the information from it to do anything else. Okay, so let me get on to voice stuff, which is a little different. Everybody okay with that? That part? Okay, don't forget this program's online to show you how all these work. And videos, all kinds of stuff there now. If you want the computer to talk to you, you have to go to Google. They're the ones, Google has the program that does that. So we have to use that's the reason why we have to use Chrome, because there are a lot of programs like that we need to use Google to access. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to write a program first. It's very simple. It's simply going to go up there, and it's going to say some words. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little box like here on the screen. That. I'm going to type some words in here. Then I'm going to hit that button. And that button is going to say those words. So if I say, hello, Bill, I press the button and say, hello, Bill. Okay? Anyway, we're going to have to say it with an American accent to begin with, okay? So, let's assume that's what we're going to do. Okay, so, step number 1, HTML. Have the head. Okay, in this particular case, this thing in here, I'm going to write this, then I'll explain it to you after I write it, okay? It's a script. This is like kind of the technical stuff. It's sort of on the heavy side. This is unusual that today I'm presenting two of these. Normally you don't get a lot of this stuff. But this thing right here, you just had an audio, which is a different version. This is the same kind of thing. Basically what I'm saying is, I have some code that's going to do some work for you. It's like, it's already, you don't want to, when you go to use an audio, it can't be for me. Sorry, I have to shut them off.
Pizza for the class.
And then you have teachers sometimes that have like really hilarious ringtones.
Crazy with this stuff. Okay, so let's go back again. So what I'm saying here is, notice it says type text JavaScript. What I'm saying is I have some code that's just like a little JavaScript with a bunch of JavaScript functions in it that I wrote, and I'm letting other people use it. The way I let them use it is, I simply let them use this stuff right here. Everything in here, anyone can use. They just put this line in their program, and all the functions I wrote are in here, are available to them. They can start using them now. Okay? So, what I do is or anybody can do this, If you write a JavaScript function that you really like, and you think it's really cool, other people can use, you can save it as a JavaScript function, just like you save anything. You save JavaScript, .js is a JavaScript function. You save it. And then what happens is, if they want to use your function, all they have to do is add this in right here, all this stuff, your address, of course, and then the name of your file, whatever your function's in, however you saved it. They've got it. So then what they have is they have your function. Now, what happens is it comes into their program. So in other words, I don't have to write this function and put it in my program. I just simply say these words, it comes into my program, it's there. I don't see it, but it's actually there. So I can call it, I can tell it to do stuff. Ring a bell, do whatever it can do. Whatever it can do, I'll tell it to do. So in other words, they've written something that works good. And as I tried to say before, and I had the phone interrupt me, you don't want to get into writing the code for video and sound. Very complex code, unbelievably complex. There's no sense in doing it. You don't have to do it. So basically what I do is I set it up so that you put one of these things in, and you get automatically simple little things like turn on the video, turn off the video, do this, do that. And you get simple little commands which do those things for you, because you wouldn't want to write the technical codes behind these things. It's too hard. In this particular case right here, I have to go to Google. Like you'll send me a phrase like, "Hi, my name is Sam." I take that phrase and I send it off to Google. They convert it into sound, send it back to us, and then the program says, "Hello, my name is Sam," or whatever voice they put it in. So basically they do all the work. They take the things you typed, convert it to sound, send the sound back to you, and you simply play the sound. Okay? So you don't have to do any of that. And that's what that thing does for you. It allows you to talk.js, that little function, that little file right there, contains a bunch of functions that allow you, or one function really, for your purposes, one function that you can say, here, play this sound. I want you to say, I'm going to the circus. And you write the words, send it to it, it'll convert it into sound and say, I'm going to the circus, with some voice. Now, you have a choice of what kind of voice to use, what nationality, what tone, whether it's male or female. You have all kinds of combination possibilities. I've eliminated a lot of possibilities because it's going to give you too much in the first hit. So the first hit, what I've decided to do is I say, okay, I'm not going to give you the ability to say the voice is loud, is soft, is there's all the possible variations there are. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, you can speak with an American accent, a British accent, an Italian accent, a French accent, or a Spanish accent. You have those full of possibilities. So you just make buttons for each one of those, and it will say whatever you send to them, it will say it with that kind of accent. So remember, this function that you're going to use contains a couple of things. You send it words, it translates the words into sounds. You tell it what nationality you want those sounds to be, those words to be, and it will send it back with those accents attached to it. So you'll be able to get it to speak with an accent of some kind. If you send it English words, it'll say those words with whatever accent you want. If you send it Spanish words, it'll speak impeccable Spanish. That's quite good, really. And the same with German, and I mean, I don't have one. You know, I've taken 1,000 language courses. I'm not really good at reading or writing the languages, but I know it when I hear it. And this program does a darn good job, really. So, now what we have now introduced in our machine the ability to send words to the program, and the program is going to say the words back to us. Question?
Because what if I want to put Chinese language?
You want to
Do I
put what?
have Chinese language? So
Chinese?
that-
It actually has Chinese.
So I have to
Oh,
put...
the characters, that's the question.
characters.
You know, I noticed the other night, I printed out what I could, and it looked like in Notepad, it actually printed out, the one it couldn't print out was one of the Indonesian or something, but I think it printed out the Chinese, the Japanese characters, and Korean characters. I think they all worked, I don't know why, maybe Microsoft, it depends on your computer. If your computer has them, you're all set. I think it does, it just
So
finds
is it a situation to some extent of like, even whatever other software you're using, recognizing it like you're describing? Like in this case, even like Chinese, for example, it's still recognized, like the whatever characters,
Well, I think it's up to your computer, really. If your computer sees the characters,
and recognizes them.
yeah, it knows what they are, right? And as I say, I don't know, that changes all the time. I mean, now we can do a lot more than we could do even 10 years ago. We can do a lot more now. But I'm not sure how advanced they've become in that. I stick with languages that pretty much use Roman letters because it always works. And but you can use, you can use cedillas and you can use umlauts and stuff. It actually understands those pretty well too. So Western languages it kind of does pretty well. But I know, I'll show you the list. By the way, I can't distinguish between the Chinese and Japanese characters or anything. You can do that, you'll have to. But I'll give you a list that has all the possibilities. And we'll just figure out how to do it if you want to do it. I had a student who did that a couple semesters ago. She had a little trouble with it. She wasn't using a Mac though, she was using a PC. Maybe on the Mac you'll have a better result, I'm not sure. But Google's got it, they've got it. Google goes a step further. You could send it Chinese characters word and we could send you a translation back. We could do that too, by the way, but the only reason I don't like it is because we have to pay them to do that. That's the one thing they won't let us do free. They'll let us do this thing free, actually have an accent. If you write something in Chinese, it'll accept the Chinese characters, it'll say it back to you in Chinese. But it won't let you say, hello, I'm Joe, and translate that into Chinese to send it back. That's the step in between that's really, they don't do that part without charging you money. Okay, so step number one, we have this thing, you just introduce it, you just put this in your program, just the way it is. Space here, that's it, no other spaces, that's it. Now you have in your program a way to translate typed in words into spoken words. Okay, so, next thing. Now I want to put in the script, the actual program. This is the program, this is the function right here that talks to this guy. It talks to it, okay? Okay, it says like this, get my language. Okay, this is just going to be a regular JavaScript function. Give it any name you want. I'll give it the name say this. And I have to bring two things up from here. I have to, well, I don't have to. I just have to bring one thing up from here. I have to bring one thing, I have to bring this phrase right here. If I press this button, I have to send this phrase up to here. It has to arrive in here. So I'm going to call it a phrase right here. So in other words, when I press that button, it comes up and phrase is now in here. Whatever I typed in English is up in there, okay? Then what I say is this. Use the words with, this is exactly what you write, with accent. Phrase, comma, US, small letters, lowercase letters, US right there. That's it. That'll do it. Slash script. I'll talk about it in a second. Slash head. body, style equals text align center. And when I say, I should say enter expression or something. Say enter expression. That's just going to go out on the screen, right? Then I have to have an input, and the input has to be type equals text. And ID equals whatever. whatever you gotta think of more original stuff than I do though. Okay, whatever is the ID. So then we say, okay, I've got this thing, I type it in, and whatever is going to be its ID. I say, okay, I want to send it up there. I want to send it up to this function right here. So I say, okay, I got an input, type equals button, I'll say it right here, say it on the button. So I'll say value equals quote say it, and on click equals quote. I want to go to this function right here, which is say this. And I want to send the phrase up, and the phrase is whatever. Dot value. There it is. That should do it. Slash body. Slash HTML. Okay. Okay, now, here's what happens. You set up the screen, it's got this input area, it's got this button. So you type something in here. I speak English. Press the button. I speak English is now in whatever. When you press that button, whatever goes up to here and lands up in phrase. Okay? So it's in there. Now it comes down here and it says, I want to go to this function up here and talk, and I want to translate it into words, spoken words, which it will do for you. So what happens is I send the phrase up to that function, and it says it for me. So I send it up there, but I also have to tell it what kind of accent to use. You use lowercase US right here. You could use different things. You could change your program to write DE, which is German, FR, which is French, IT, which is Italian.
Are those the universal codes for that accent or language?
What?
Are those the universally accepted codes for those?
No, these are ones I made up.
Okay.
I wrote this function right here.
Right.
The universal ones, you don't have access to directly because they're weird.
Okay.
It's like BK underscore FG or all kinds of weird
Something
stuff.
weird.
So I said, okay, let's get out of that. Just use the US, the easy ones that we can use. And basically, that program will work. It will actually say it for you. That's it. Job done. Now, that may seem complicated, but actually, you do a couple of these things, you play around a little bit, you find out pretty soon. It's very easy to use. This thing's always the same. And I always have this available. It's on my site, and it's always there. You don't have to, you could copy this down if you wanted. You could bring that down to your machine and put it in your machine. If you start doing that, though, you're going to start getting in trouble because then you have to give it another name when you send it up to your host site. So that's...
Is this because the website domain is like registered twice, so that doesn't work then?
No, it doesn't care about that. It's just that
I thought it was a domain, but same thing as having like a website domain is
what's happening is some students here have created a website, then they've created folders within the website. They put some things in some folders and some in others. So then when you start doing that, then it has to start Yeah, what's the where? What do you want? So instead of avoid that problem, I say we could just use this one. It's always available, it's always there, it's always the same. You never have to change that line of code, it's just always the same. It's good forever. This program, I have a few of them I want to show you right now that work on all these sound things, on these verbal things, and you'll see how they work. They really aren't that complicated, but I mean, they are this, and it's repetition. After a while, you get to see how it's repeating. The fun part comes in, we're also going to animate stuff, and also the program's going to listen to you. Starting next week, I'm going to have it, you're going to talk to it. And so it's going to be able to do that next class. So you'll say something, and the program will know what you said and react accordingly. So that's really quite a lot of fun too. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to go to the screen. Take a break, leave, stay, whatever you want to do. Take a break. See if I can keep count going this time. There it is. So I'm just going to go to our web page. Change the size of the problem.